All right, all right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have a very special guest on today, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. But before she does, she is the founder and executive director of an incredible nonprofit called Stand Up Survivor. And we had the opportunity to work together, and I just want her to share how incredible her nonprofit is. Lisa, can you tell us why you started Stand Up Survivor?
Hey, Kristen. Yes, yes. So I started Stand Up Survivor in 2015, and it was based off my personal experience as a survivor of abuse. And I never, woke up one day and said I wanted to start an organization. It just kind of happened by default because as I started to speak about it and started to use my voice, I realized that other people had been through what I had been through as well. And so it just kind of snowballed from then, realizing that as I used my voice, I was helping other people to use theirs. So I was like, I need to do something on a bigger platform. And that's where Stand Up Survivor started.
I love that. And so many times survivors are crippled in silence and they don't know where to go, but you've given them a voice. Can you just talk about how the journey it was to share your own story, create this gigantic platform and give other people a voice? Can you kind of just share what that journey has been like for you from going from victim to survivor to thriver to this boss babe that you are today? I just give us a little sneak peek into the life of Lisa.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it started with just saying it out loud. Kristen, as a survivor, fellow survivors, it's just like you don't talk about it. You're shamed in silence. And it literally was just like this baby step of just talking about it. And then I was like, oh, you too, it happened to you too. And then I was like, wait a minute, that means it's happening to so many other people around the world. And so I started just talking about it. And then I formed a board, and then I started the Stand Up Survivor. And then slowly but surely, it was like, the snowball starts small and then slowly but surely it picks up momentum. And that's pretty much where it started. I realizing that once I started talking about it, it released all the shame from it. I didn't have to carry that shame anymore. It was never mine to begin with. And so once I started talking about it, it was like a fire ignited. It slowly started to ignite other people's fire as well. And it's a powerful thing, Kristen, as you know, to use your voice. And once you use your voice, you silence all the other critics because you stand in your truth. And I love the whole finding your voice and standing in your truth, because that's literally what Stand Up Survivor is all about.
I love
It's
that.
like, we're not asking anybody's opinion on what you think that I went through. I was there, and so I'm standing up in all my truth and all my strength and telling my story.
Preach. Yes, you're giving me goosebumps all over. I love it. So if a donor is watching this right now and they want to support Stand Up Survivor, can you just give us a little bit of a glimpse of the type of programs that Stand Up offers?
Yes. So we love our programs. We love just to be able to give back to the community, love to be able to interact with people all over the world. We have our ambassador programs where we have representatives throughout the United States and abroad that represent Stand Up Survivor, that help people in their local communities. We have our No Survivor Left Behind program, which focuses on the male survivors of abuse and the LGBTQIA plus community. We have our Faith Initiative, where we focus on educating the faith communities on domestic violence. We have a Freedom Brag program where if a survivor is leaving immediately, we have a 2-week worth supply in a bag of items for them and their children so that they can utilize that on their road to safety. Oh my goodness, so many good things. We have our healing retreat, which is something we hold 3 times a year. And we love to just get survivors together for a weekend of healing, reflection, strength building, purpose planning. And so those are some of the things that we have that we do at Stand Up Survivor.
That's incredible. And I just want to say that when we had first connected, it was through the nonprofit makeover giveaway, which it was so hard to select nonprofits for. And your nonprofit was already established, but you wanted to look for more strategy to literally level up in 2021. Can you kind of give our listeners a little bit of a glimpse of what Stand Up Survivor was pre-masterclass? What were some of the struggles you were going through, and where were you at in that space?
Well, first of all, we're super excited to win. Our whole team was excited. It was so fun. We're like, okay, we're about to do this because I've watched you, before at your previous nonprofit, and I was just amazed at the work that you've done. So when I saw this opportunity, I was like, oh yeah, I want to win this.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah. So I was like, oh my goodness, come on, let me win. So before we attended the nonprofit makeover, before we won, I should say, the nonprofit makeover. I was, you know, I guess you could say there are manuals out there, but when you do this with such passion, and you're doing it from your heart, it's hard to say, oh, don't forget this is a business. Oh, don't forget you have to have a great board, or there's a working board, and then there's a governing board. And I didn't know all of this stuff. I wasn't too familiar with branding and colors and how important they were. So I had a board, but they weren't, like, in my opinion, working to the best of their ability. I was very, very overworked, extremely underpaid. And so Kristen's like, oh yeah. And I was just overwhelmed, serious burnout. Because we already had a large platform. We already were servicing a lot of survivors, but I was the one doing the majority of the work. And Kristen was like, stop it immediately, pump the brakes, you're gonna burn out. Yeah, she was like, stop. And she's like, if Lisa falls apart, then we're a stand-up survivor. And so you really kind of brought me with so many different aspects of the nonprofit makeover to a level plane, to like, hey, let's look at this thing all over again. So yeah.
I want to dive into that real quick, because so many, which you and I both understand, so many nonprofit leaders are in that boat right now. What would you tell them, the ones just like us who are doing the social media, doing the programs, doing the fundraising, going out, rubbing elbows, going finding office space, going this, that, and everything in between? And what would you tell a nonprofit leader who is in that boat right now?
You've got to have a plan. You've got to have a blueprint, because you're literally just spinning like a puppy chasing their tail constantly, because you're never going to be able to manage it all. You've got to have a blueprint, someone who can kind of help walk you and guide you step by step through the different aspects of a nonprofit organization. And you don't want to ever find yourself drowning, and the statistics on nonprofits that end up closing their doors or burnout happens is high. And it doesn't have to be you if you get the proper support. Don't do it. It's not worth it, because outside of that, and I think you touch on that a lot, and when, like, some of the stuff that you talk about is you still have a family, you still have children, you still have life outside of your nonprofit that deserves to be lived. So balance is so important.
I love that. And so after we've done the nonprofit makeover with you, we walked through tons of different steps. Each and every week you were like powering through, like, I'm going to get through this. I need to get to the finish line. What has been, or have you seen any changes with your schedule, your availability with your kids, your husband? What have they seen? Have they seen the light yet? That, oh, mom's here. Is she really here?
They have. My husband and my children have benefited from it, and that's it. Those are my number one. Nothing outside of that. That's number one. My husband, my family ministry, that's number one. I love Stand Up Survivor with everything, but if the world crumbles, they're my core. And so that they always have to be okay. So learning to balance and prioritize Stand Up Survivor was totally beneficial to my home life, which is
I love that. And I love how when we connected after the masterclass to really give, eyes are watering, it's so great, that we were able to sit down with your board and talk about it. And they were so excited, and the passion, and really the wheels shifted, like, okay, this is it. This is how we're going to make this next move. So just tell me, and you can list them, you can just yell them out, whatever that looks like for you. Tell me what some of your wins have been. I want to celebrate you. I want to hear them. It's been a little bit since we last connected. Yeah. So from the moment that we've graduated from the masterclass to now, I mean, I know some of the wins, I've seen them, and I'm excited about it every step of the way. Every post that I see, I just want to click. I need everybody to see this. Tell me some of the wins that you've had since we last connected.
Well, one of the things you did was you came to a board meeting, which I thought was super cool, which was awesome, which was like, I could just sit back, because I've been saying this.
I said it. I'm gonna be your cheerleader. I'm going there and fight for you.
Yep. And you did come in and then fight for me. I was just in there like a kid in a candy store, like, yep, that's what I've been saying. But I'm gonna let Kristen tell y'all, because you did. You came in and you advocated, and you said the things that maybe that I had been trying to say, or probably wasn't articulating as well. And you really were able to come in with a level of expertise and share with the board things that I didn't even really understand, and that they needed to understand their roles. And that really helps, because now our board meetings are different. Everyone's hands-on, active, kind of really coming up with some great ideas. Oh yeah, it's been great. So some of the wins, of course, one thing you did tell me, and it seems like a no-brainer, and I don't want people to miss this, right? Is branding consistency. So and another thing is, like, it doesn't have to be like the color of the breast cancer is yet pink. Domestic violence is purple. It doesn't have to be whatever it is, make it yours and make it consistent, right? And so make sure that you stick with that branding. And so I've just stuck with that branding. When you see those colors, you know that it's us, right? Period. Right. And
Period.
so
Yes.
period. And even redesigning a bit of our logo, we did that as well, just to kind of make it stand out. So when you see it, you know that it's us, right? Which I love. And of course, we already had great, but I'm telling you, like, seeing the consistency has definitely allowed our numbers to soar, allowed our interactions to soar. You taught me about just different levels of interaction and branding, which has definitely taken us to another level. We have a 5K coming up, which is super exciting. Yeah, for Mother's Day weekend, we did our first retreat, which was so good because you and I had sat down and went over some stuff about that. Oh my goodness. Our board, you taught about governing board and a working board and the difference between the two. Volunteers. You are not a one-man show, Lisa, right? Which is such a relief because we don't want to be a one-man show, but you made me realize, like, I don't have to have volunteers that are in the office face to face all the time. I can have these volunteers wherever they are, and they can still be successful to making the organization work. And so creating a volunteer team has been a really, really, really good thing. So those are some of the
Amazing.
wins. I feel like I'm missing so many more, but there's more.
I know there's more. I just have to say, from someone who creates content, for someone who is looking always for the next best thing, the quality of content, because I think that's the difference. There's a difference between, like, I'm just going to throw my logo on there versus being very intentional, the content that you're creating is top notch. And I am so proud of you in that process, because that inspires me to want to share. And anytime someone contacts me about, oh, do you know a nonprofit that I can donate to? I'm sending them your way, because I know they're going to get quality support. They're going to get A1 day one content, and they're going to get a community when they go to Stand Up Survivor. So I love it. So before we go,
I wanted to add one more thing, though.
Yes, go for it.
In the Nonprofit Makeover, we won our own song, right?
Yes.
And it is amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's only the snippet of it. Oh my gosh, this song is, I love it. I love it.
I love it too. I'm so excited. And so it's our song, right?
Yes.
So if you see Stand Up Survivor, you're gonna have our song playing in the background.
Oh yes,
I love it.
Yes, and it'll be on all platforms, so people will be able to hear it. And when they hear Stand Up Survivor, well, branding, plug, videos, content, I mean, you can do 1,000,001 things with it. So
1,000,001 things.
Just in case you all watching right now don't know what she's talking about, a part of the Nonprofit Makeover Masterclass giveaway, we also gave a ton of great resources, a ton of great tips and tricks and all the good stuff, the mentoring, the coaching, all that good stuff. But on top of that, Stand Up Survivor got their very own song. Compliments of Anthem Music Enterprises. They have been cooking up the best voice, the best lyrics for your song. I also heard that you put in some lyrics too, and I love those. Okay, songwriter. Okay.
Yeah, right. We did. It was fun.
I love that.
Fun. And that beat drops. I love the hook. I love the flow of it. And they're gonna hear it. We're debuting it this week so they can hear it. I love it. I love it. I mean, that's the whole part of branding too. And I would never have thought about a song. You know what I mean? And I played it for my husband last night. He was like, oh yeah, that's hot. Because he used to do engineering. And he's like, you could do that on a commercial. You could do it on your post, everything. Oh yeah, I'm excited. So definitely. And I would include that. Yeah. I would say include that in the branding. Like, if you're looking for a song, you need to get with them, because it kind of brings everything together as far as our branding is concerned. So I'm excited about that.
The best way for people to understand it, and I think that, in the work that I do with my clients, a lot of times they miss the mark on why social media is important. And you understand that social media allows you to connect with people during the pandemic and even before or after. But the beautiful part, let's just even talk about McDonald's for a second. When you hear ba-da-ba-ba-ba, you knew it's McDonald's without even saying McDonald's. But the beautiful part is that you'll have your own song that you can showcase, that you can be like, hey, that lyric, oh, that's us. That is us in a song. I love it. I love it. That's so exciting. So what advice do you have for nonprofit leaders who are really just in this space of trying to figure it out? they're burnt out, they're tired, they're like, I need answers, but don't know where to go. What would you tell them from one nonprofit leader to another? What is your biggest piece of advice for nonprofit leaders right now?
Well, before I answer that, I do want to say one of your focuses was on fundraising as well. And so we have been tapping into the Facebook fundraising button and
Yes,
are raising the heck out of that thing. And it
yes.
really, because that's how we do all the things that I mentioned. I only mentioned some are fundraising led. We do not have these big grants. We do not have these big
Let's
things coming in. It's
go.
fundraisers. And it's the support through the Facebook fundraising button, which has been a huge, the birthday fundraising, the Just Because fundraising. I like Stand Up Survivor fundraising. Tapping in, and you talk about that all the time. So I do have to acknowledge that it is true, right?
It does
I'm
work,
still
right?
working on
It does work.
it worked. You talk about it, tap into those donors. I mean, we have 100,000 people tapping. If everybody gave $1, I mean, seriously. And so you talk about that, and I want people to know that are watching. It's for real. Tap into that Facebook button, that Facebook birthday fundraising, that Just Because fundraising. Tap into it because it does work. So I just wanted to put that in there real quick.
I
Shameless
love that.
plug.
And that's a big piece of advice because a lot of times people are missing the mark. Nonprofit leaders are missing the mark because all they're thinking about is, oh, give me money. And that's not how it works. When you build relationships, when you create great content, when you build a community, the money will come. And there's a strategy to it. And that's where the Nonprofit Makeover Masterclass comes in, is that we literally walk our clients, our nonprofit friends through this process of making and leveling up your organization so you don't have to be burnt out. So you don't have to be away from home all hours of the day and night because you're just, oh, I gotta work, I gotta work. And that's great. You
Yeah.
want to make a difference, but family, in my opinion, comes first. And the
That's it.
nonprofit will
Yeah.
be there. And if you structure it in a way that's going to be conducive to your work-life balance and your family, you're A1. So I'm with you. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad that the
Yeah,
the
that's a,
the techniques that I taught you are actually working. Oh my gosh, what a
they
surprise.
do.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer. My answer would be like, don't think that you just have to do this by yourself. Number one, nonprofit leaders. Number one, two, don't think you know everything, because we don't. You can always be learning. Always be willing to be a student and learn something, because the truth is we don't know. I've been through Kristen's masterclass and she goes live. I'm still getting on there as though I didn't take the masterclass, because she's going to say something that I can learn again. Get yourself a mentor, get with the nonprofit masterclass, get with someone that can really help guide you through. So what Kristen did was kind of walk us through every section of our nonprofit. So there wasn't one that was kind of left, oh, but what about this? Oh, but what about that? Trust invest in yourself, invest in your nonprofit, because if you do, number one, you'll be alive longer because you have less burnout and less stress. But your nonprofit has the ability to soar. It wasn't meant to be somewhere where you're constantly begging for money, constantly stressed out. Allow yourself to connect with an organization that will help you take your nonprofit to the next level. And of course, Kristen, I don't think small. I always think
I
large,
know.
because I have no doubt that God has taken, my nonprofit to big heights. But I look at big nonprofits like, the Red Cross or Goodwill and all these places they are nonprofit organizations with millions of dollars. So please don't for a second think that you're just supposed to sit and not be able to afford anything or constantly begging for money. Let Kristen's team guide you through becoming successful. That's what I would say. I'm done on my.
Mic drop. You don't have to be broke. And I tell this to clients all the time. You don't
Oh,
have to be broke. And for those organizations who are self-funding, if you had the opportunity to know that if you invested in something like the masterclass or coaching or the programs that our company offers, you're literally going to get a cheat sheet. And instead of you investing your money into all these things that you think are going to work, if you knew that you were going to get the answers to the test, wouldn't you just take the answers to the test? So
yeah.
there's so much that we can talk about. I love it. I love your energy. I've loved your energy. I loved your mission since I've heard of it. And I cannot wait to see you just take off. And you're doing it. You're making moves. I see the engagement. I see the branded content that's on point. I love it. It's quality stuff. It's not just thrown together. And I love that you're out here doing the damn thing. I'm proud of you. And as
Thank
always,
you.
if I can do anything to help support your organization, I'm going to send it your way. And the beautiful thing, which I know you can uh, agree with is that the beautiful part about working with the nonprofit masterclass or the nonprofit makeover as a whole, is that when opportunities come up for our clients, I'm going to send it your way. If there is opportunities to speak or opportunities to really just showcase your organization, I'm going to send it your way because we're in this together. So I'm
I love
excited.
that. And you weren't stingy on information that you had, resources that you know, connections that you had. You shared all of that information.
All of it.
So it's like all of that in one class. And you have payment
all,
plans. So I don't want to
all
speak
of
too
it.
soon, but you made it affordable by making it something that they can invest in. And listen, Stand Up Survivor was completely self-funded. And you were like, Lisa, enough. Like, it's time out for that. You have to figure out something different. And we have. And so I'm super thankful for that, you guys.
I love that. It's great. And you know, I appreciate that recognition because when I created this program, I created it for nonprofit leaders just like you. And I'm not going to name any other names of other nonprofit consultants, but they're charging an arm and a leg and another leg. And you and I both know nonprofits don't have an arm and a leg to give. Because if we did, we probably would have gave it already. So I just want to say that this class is where it's at. It is designed for you to win. And I did this because I knew that when I poured into you, you were going to pour into millions of people. And that's exactly what you're doing. And I am so grateful that I get to just sit back and watch the amazing things that you're doing. For real.
Yay. Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. It means a
You
lot.
are so welcome. So before I go, do you have any other amazing piece of advice from Lisa, the founder, the executive director of Stand Up Survivor?
Yes. Contact Kristen Sharp ASAP. Invest in yourself. I mean, and you know, she didn't pay me to say that. Seriously, it's really how I feel because it's taken my organization to another level, and I feel a lot more confident in what I'm doing moving forward. I feel like it's something that's more feasible and something that I can do, and it's worth the investment. Invest in it, and you will reap it 10 times over on the other side. I guarantee it. So go for it.
I love it. And if you are watching right now and need an organization to donate to, make sure you choose Stand Up Survivor. You can like them on Facebook. And also, speaking of which, how can we find all things Stand Up Survivor? How can people go on, support, and the whole thing?
Stand Up Survivor on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. My email is lisa@standupsurvivor.com. And yeah, that's how they can support.
And then how they also donate on all those platforms as well.
Exactly. And our website, standupsurvivor.com. So definitely tap into us. And we are all about domestic violence, education, awareness, and prevention. We're changing the world. Absolutely.
Absolutely. One Stand Up Survivor at a time.
At a time.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. So thank you for tuning in.